The terms of political leaders, such as presidents, might vary depending on the political systems in each country. Some leaders, however, do not have the good fortune to see their plans through for a variety of reasons. Many of them pass away before the end of their political mandates, including John F. Kennedy of the United States, who was assassinated. In this video, we will see a list of presidents who had the shortest time in office. France's King Louis XIX ruled for less than 30 minutes. Louis Antoine, who was married to Marie-Therese, the eldest child of Marie Antoinette and King Louis XVIII, ruled France for a brief period in 1830. Early years were spent outside of France, but Louis Antoine returned to fight for the Royalists against Napoleon in the 1810s. Louis Antoine, Duke of Angoulême, was the eldest child of Charles X of France and became Louis XIX when his father abdicated, reportedly 20 minutes after his father had done the same. For 18 hours, Michael II ruled Russia. Tsar Nicholas II appointed Grand Duke Michael Alexandrovich to lead the Russian government. On March 15, 1917, Nicholas II abdicated, removing his son from the line of succession and appointing Michael as his replacement. Michael initially didn't say yes or no to the job. The day after Nicholas II abdicated, Michael made a statement following a meeting with representatives of the new provisional government. In essence, he agreed to act as a symbolic leader until an elected assembly should manifest the will of the people by voting upon the new form of government. He asked all residents of the Russian Empire to surrender to the government. Between Nicholas' abdication and the signing of Michael's manifesto, there were around 16 to 20 hours. Siaka Stevens served as the country's head of state for the shortest and longest periods. On March 21, 1967, Siaka Stevens briefly held the position of Prime Minister in Sierra Leone amid the turbulent political transition of the 1960s and 1970s. The following day, he was overthrown by a military coup led by one of his adversaries. In 1968, Stevens served as Prime Minister when he returned to Sierra Leone, and in 1971, he was chosen as the nation's first president. Stevens presided over the country until 1985. Pedro Carmona was swiftly installed and ousted from office as part of a failed coup in Venezuela. When Hugo Chávez's ouster from power was attempted in 2002, the conspirators decided Pedro Carmona, a businessman, would succeed him as the country's leader. During his brief time in power, Carmona abolished the 1999 Constitution and disbanded a number of government agencies. After the coup, Chávez quickly retook control of Venezuela. Later, Carmona claimed that he was not involved in any plot to depose Chávez, but rather that he had been asked to fill a power vacuum that had occurred and to form a transitional government as he had been informed that Chávez had resigned. Mexico was under Pedro Lascurain's rule for barely an hour. Pedro Lascurain served as president of Mexico for a brief period in the 1910s, which is regarded as the shortest presidency in history. In 1912 and 1913, Lascurain, who had previously served as Mexico City's mayor in 1910, served as President Francisco Madero's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Lascurain was elected president in February 1913 following the overthrow of Madero by the military. This was done merely to give the General Victoriano Huerta-led coup some legitimacy and to pave the way for Huerta to assume personal power. Lascurain ruled for, according to historians, around 45 minutes. 32 days after becoming President of the United States, William Henry Harrison passed away. The distinction of being the 9th President of the United States belongs to William Henry Harrison. In addition, he was the first president to pass away while in office and the president with the shortest tenure. On March 4, 1841, Harrison took the oath of office. He was found dead on April 4th from pneumonia, and it's thought that his failure to wear a coat or hat that particular day may have helped. But other academics believe that typhoid disease was the cause of his early demise. The 16-day tenure of Italian Prime Minister Tommaso Titone. Tommaso Tittone served as the Kingdom of Italy's prime minister from March 12 to March 28, 1905, but only after Giovanni Giolitti resigned. Giolitti resigned from his position as leader during his second term, and he was elected prime minister once again in 1906. When Giolitti was replaced by Alessandro Fortis in the middle of 1905, Tittone, who had previously served as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, resumed his duties. Throughout Giolitti's succeeding terms in office, he continued in the position as well. For one night, Joseph Goebbels served as German Chancellor. On April 30, 1945, Adolf Hitler took his own life, and Joseph Goebbels became the new German Chancellor. Goebbels' tenure as Chancellor was brief, nevertheless, as he was the Nazi Party's sole surviving high-ranking commander and former Minister of Propaganda. Goebbels and his wife, Magda, reportedly gave their 6 children morphine and cyanide to murder them, and then they killed themselves the day after he succeeded Hitler. Carlos Luz served as President of Brazil for 3 days. Although Carlos Luz had the shortest term as president in Brazil's history, several of his predecessors actually had the same position but were never elected. While Julio Prestes was elected in 1930 but toppled before taking office, Rodrigues Alves was president-elect of Brazil in 1918 but passed away during the worldwide influenza pandemic. Getulio Vargas, the president of Brazil in 1954, agreed to take a leave of absence before committing suicide. Vargas' term was completed by serving as president in place of his vice president, João Café. When Café claimed in 1955 that he was too unwell to continue, Carlos Luz, who was then in charge of the Chamber of Deputies, took over. He served as president for 3 days in November when one of his generals overthrew him. Christopher Okoro served as the country's president for 2 days. In the 1960s, politician Christopher Okoro Cole represented Sierra Leone at the United Nations and served as ambassador to the U.S. He was appointed Chief Justice of Sierra Leone's top court in 1970, and in 1971 he was made the nation's Governor General. Sierra Leone became a republic in April of that year, following several military uprisings in January. On April 19th, Cole was momentarily sworn in as president. On April 21st, Siaka Stevens, who had been elected, took over. Despite serving as president of South Africa twice, Ivy Matseed-Cassaburi only held the position for 4 days. In 2005, Ivy Matseed-Cassaburi made history by becoming the country of South Africa's first female president. She held the position again 3 years later. She served as South Africa's interim president for 3 days in 2005, again for around 14 hours in 2008. The latter came after President Thabo Mbeki's resignation in September 2008. Matseed-Cassaburi, who was a member of the cabinet, was appointed to fill the position until Kgalema Motlanthe was sworn in shortly after. An iceberg lettuce triumphed in the end. The Daily Star's October 14th debut of a viral video livestream that pitted Prime Minister Liz Truss against a withering vegetable captivated the nation and highlighted the utter turmoil within the British government. Truss, who had only been in office for 44 days, announced her resignation on Thursday. She was the third prime minister this year, and after a disastrous mini-budget on September 23rd that panicked markets, spiked borrowing rates, and destroyed the British pound, she soon fell out of favor with fellow conservatives and the general public. In the midst of the backlash, she removed her finance minister Kwasi Kwarteng and replaced him with Jeremy Hunt, but it was insufficient to preserve her political survival. That was for today. Thank you for staying with us. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel.